Everyone's talking about stablecoins, so I figure why not make a video about some projects I think will be absolutely massive in the stablecoin space. In this video, we'll talk about what stablecoins are, how they work, and like I mentioned, some of those projects by the end of the video that you'll want to know that who knows, maybe they'll be the next biggest stablecoins in crypto. So jumping right into it, a stablecoin is a type of cryptocurrency that aims to maintain a stable value relative to a specified asset, a pool, or basket of assets. Among other reasons, they're very low cost to actually utilize, they're globally available, and the transaction speeds are almost instant. And for citizens in countries where the local currencies are plummeting in value, it can act as almost like a hedge for them. The most common example of a stablecoin are fiat currencies, like the United States dollar, which accounts for a vast majority of all tokenized assets in crypto, so we'll make sure to focus on that today. Now you may be asking yourself, Hunter, are stablecoins relatively straightforward? Well, not as much as you would think. So actually, there are different types of stablecoins, starting with collateralized. These tend to be backed one-to-one by cash or cash equivalents, like bank deposits or treasury bills. USDT by Tether and USDC by Circle are great examples of this. One important thing when you're looking at these different collateralized stablecoins is knowing that they're actually being backed by physical versions of the currency that they're representing. So for example, you have Circle, who posts weekly disclosures detailing the amount of USDC issued and redeemed or minted and burned. And then of course you have USDT or Tether, who daily reports on how much is in circulation. And then of course, each needs to have their own third-party auditor because, we don't want to just trust their word for it. USDC has monthly attestations from Deloitte, which is a big four accounting firm, and USDT has quarterly reports from BDO Italia. There are stablecoins that are collateralized by more than just cash, but crypto as well. So jumping into Sky Protocol, they have USDS. And for my OG crypto people here, these guys are formerly MakerDAO, the guys behind the Maker and the DAI token. USDS is collateralized by different types of crypto, including USDC and DAI, which are stablecoins, on-chain / over-the-counter lending, corporate debt, and treasury bills, and also happens to be the third biggest stablecoin project behind Circle's USDC and Tether's USDT. They also have another stablecoin that's yield bearing, which essentially allows people who are holding it to earn yield from real world asset investments and protocol fees. And the last collateralized / crypto backed one we'll go into is USDE by Athena. They describe it as a delta neutral synthetic dollar that executes delta neutral hedges with respect to the underlying assets backing it, including stablecoins, Bitcoin, and ETH. So essentially, when someone mints USDE, Athena opens a short position on that asset, and when someone redeems USDE, Athena closes a short position. Definitely very unique and novel in the world of stablecoins, hence why they happen to also be one of the bigger ones. And they also have a yield-bearing stablecoin called SUSDE. All of those, as I mentioned, are collateralized / covered, and to be honest, are pretty much the industry standard for how stablecoins should be brought into market. That being said, onto the algorithmic stuff, an algorithmic stablecoin is supposed to be programmed and designed to use an algorithm to keep the price stable relative to that of the asset it's trying to stay pegged to. It usually involves adjusting the token supply, burning and minting, as the price of the real asset goes up and down. Now, the only examples of actual algorithmic stablecoins out there don't really exist that much anymore. AMPL was a very, very popular one back in the day. They have a stable coin, or I guess they call it a flat coin, called Spot, which definitely has seen better days. The most famous algorithmic stablecoin that pretty much everyone knows about was TERRA. But just to keep it short, back in May of 2022, there was a bank run that inflated the supply of Luna. It started with someone making very large withdrawals from Anchor Protocol, which caused UST to drop below $1, which scared others into swapping their UST for Luna, which caused the Luna supply to inflate with trillions of new Luna tokens being minted, causing the price to plummet. And of course, the rest is history. So essentially, the reason why we don't have algorithmic stablecoins anymore, not counting the low confidence that people have in them at this point, the supply volatility did not help, especially when you're trying to do exchange listings and figure out where to get it listed. Having a capped supply is really, really important. And frankly, with the Genius Act coming into play, this kind of kills any idea of any type of algorithmic stablecoin, because I'm pretty sure there's wording in there for any stablecoin that does want to call themselves a stablecoin that they need to have one-to-one backings with any currency that they have minted. All right, now let's talk about some stablecoin projects I think will be absolutely massive. First of all, starting with USDG. Now this is a stablecoin by Paxos, but is also backed by a network of individuals called the Global Dollar Network. This includes people like Kraken, OKX, Galaxy, and Robinhood. Of course, it's one-to-one backed, completely collateralized, and just from the names involved, you can see why I think it's going to be so huge. Most stablecoins that I've already spoken about and most stablecoins that are already big are usually by one individual. This is a network of incredibly large companies that are giving pretty good incentives for other companies to adopt it. For example, they're offering companies to receive up to 100% of the returns generated by assets backing USDG held on their platforms, with additional revenue for minting, acceptance, and more. So in my mind, USDG is kind of a no-brainer. Again, I think most of all this stablecoin stuff will be abstracted away. So ideally, the end user doesn't know which stablecoin they're holding. But I think if any stablecoin will be the rails for a lot of finance going forward, I think it might be this one. The next stablecoin is one-to-one backed, it's collateralized, but not against the United States dollar, actually against the euro, and it's by Circle. So this, to me, is more of an obvious play. Circle is literally the biggest stablecoin issuer on the planet. And if you think at some point that every relevant currency will be digitized somehow, some way, them already having the euro out there is one reason why I think when Europe or the EU wants to get much more serious about digital currencies and on-chain finance, that this one in my mind will be a no-brainer. I'm sure there are other crypto companies that are building their own euro version of a stablecoin, but if we're being honest, it'll probably be Circle that kind of kills it, in a good way, of course. Okay, lastly, this one I promise you're going to be very excited about. USDAI. USDAI is also one-to-one backed, fully collateralized, but the kick here is that they actually use AI infrastructure to produce yield for the folks holding their staked version SUSDAI. And when I say AI infrastructure, what I really mean is GPUs. Now let me just explain. The yield essentially is generated through loans collateralized by a mix of AI infrastructure assets and US Treasury bills. A majority right now are Treasury bills, but as they grow, their plan is to move 100% of the yield that they generate all the way to graphics cards. They've also recently had a ton of big announcements, like one, moving from M0 as their stablecoin provider to PayPal, which is PYUSD. And the other day, they also made the announcement of their governance token called CHIP. And if you're interested in USDAI, you want me to make a video about it, please let me know in the comments. I was thinking about doing that. It's the largest Arbitrum native project and the second biggest project in general on Arbitrum 1. And to be honest, their growth has been nothing less than impressive. Just to end off with some thoughts, I'm very excited to see how crypto and stablecoins in particular are slowly becoming the Trojan horse for DeFi into TradFi. I think the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, all of the bills that are trying to be passed through Washington right now also does help give a lot of clarity, no pun intended, to a lot of the companies building in this space. So, while there is a lot of back and forth and a lot of uncertainty around it, it's a lot better than the uncertainty that we had 3-4 years ago, or not even, maybe a year, 2 years ago, right? That being said, nothing is financial advice. And please let me know, what projects are you excited about, especially as it pertains to stablecoins? Are you excited for USDAI, USDG, the euro, any other currencies coming on chain? There's a lot of things that can be tokenized. I think anything of value probably will. See you guys on the next one. Peace out.